my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a spoiler-free look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 76, which dropped nearly an hour early, where I am. But anyway, before that, there will be no spoilers, but I have an exciting announcement to make for my Humans Are Weird book series. Humans Are Weird, let's work it out. I've shipped off all of the books to the backers, and so the book is live in the Kindle version on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and the paperback versions will be live as soon as the various Amazon, Barnes & Noble get done processing them. Humans Are Weird, let's work it out. Available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Go check it out. All right. Kaiju number 8, chapter 76. This is solidly, unquestionably, a good, solid positioning chapter. We've had our exciting battles against the small fry, and I'm not going to call this a spoiler, because as anyone who has ever watched a single anime or live-action show of similar things, you know what's happening next. You know the next beat that's going to happen. But I do just want to mention one thing spoiler-free. The first several pages of this chapter put the focus on one thing. Let's see. The entire first page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page, double page spread, seventh page, eighth page, ninth page, 10th page, 11th, sort of the 11th page. Okay, so this is a fairly long chapter. Out of 32 pages, 11, so 1/3 of this entire chapter is devoted to one concept, one singular concept. And I'm not going to tell you what that is because, spoilers. So 1/3 of an extra long, important holiday special chapter is being devoted to one concept. And it's a very, very interesting concept, and it ties back to, in a strange, tangential way, to the Kaiju number 6 situation. And one thing that I want to remind everybody about the Kaiju number 6 situation was they lost, I think it was over 200, it might have been over 100, but they lost officers in the 3 digits during that confrontation when Kaiju number 6 attacked. And they give us some context for that in this chapter and how bad that was. And then they focus on this one specific thing on those first 11 chapters. Now, Matsumoto, if there's one thing that Matsumoto is really good at, Matsumoto is good at a lot of stuff, but if there's one thing that Matsumoto excels at, it's packing the maximum amount of information into the smallest number of panels. The fact that Matsumoto spent 3 panels on the joke about Kaiju number 8 peeing out of its nipples, which was the introduction of the overheating aspect of the Kaiju Defense Force suits and the Kaiju themselves, that the fact that Matsumoto spent 3 panels on a side joke was enough to set off flags in my head and say, okay, this is interesting, this is important. We didn't find out what it was until later, and I actually had to go and ask around on Reddit asking what was that about before I finally figured it out, thanks to the people who answered my questions. But panels, and so the manga equivalent of time spent on concepts is a red flag. And to spend 11 chapters emphasizing one element of one character to the exclusion of the rest of the setup that's going on in this story is really, really telling. So this concept, that I'm not going to go into here, but I will go in the spoiler-free section, has got to be very, very important. And again, I'm not sure, but I think it ties back to that Kaiju number 6 attack and just how bad it was, and just how resigned the Defense Force is to these massive losses that they're going to take in the Defense Force. They're used to watching people die. And I don't know if that's the element that's going to come to the story, that the old Defense Force members, they accept that there will be a certain amount of deaths. In a different shonen manga, I would expect one of the elements of the story to be the main character defying that and saying, no one dies on my watch. And we have seen an element of that in Kafka in the past. His reason for being a Defense Force officer is to prevent people from suffering, but more especially in Kikoru. We've seen Kikoru going out there and saying, no one dies on my watch. Whereas we see that the Defense Force in general accepts deaths in the Defense Force. Vice Captain Hoshina introduced that as one of his first real character moments when he's telling Kafka not to get too attached because people die. And so I'm thinking that might be something that's being set up. Now that I think about it, now that I'm talking it out, what might be being set up in that 11-page spread dedicated to this one concept, which ties back to other concepts, is that in the Defense Force, there is a phlegmatic acceptance of the fact that they will suffer losses. Their goal is to prevent civilians from dying, but every Defense Force member goes in there knowing that they might die, knowing that at least 2/3 of their comrades are going to die. And that's been a repeating thing. And that is not exactly directly addressed in this chapter. That's only tangentially touched on. But again, 11 pages of a 32-page, so more than 1/3 of the chapter, including multiple page-and-a-half spreads, is dedicated to one specific character, one specific action, one specific concept in a chapter when the point of view, when the perspective is bouncing around between many characters. So now that I've had a chance to talk this out and you've seen the way my brain works, where am I going with this? I think we are going to see developing that conflict between the younger generation, Kikoru, with her declaration that none of her comrades are going to die when she's on the battlefield. Kafka, his goal is out there to keep people from crying. And the phlegmatic acceptance of the older officers that they will lose a certain number of officers. And that those are acceptable losses as long as they get the mission done. Dedication to the mission above all. And I'm interested in looking to see that going forward. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Do you think this is going to be a conflict between the up-and-coming rookie officers and the older officers? Or do you think it's simply going to be a contrast? This is the mentality that defines the rookies. Nobody dies, not today. Versus the acceptable losses mentality of the older officers. And what do you think? Do you think I'm just barking up the wrong tree here? Why do you think Matsumoto dedicated over 1/3 of the entire pages to this one concept? Hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment below telling me what you think. Remember, go check out my book, Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out, now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, soon to be up on Google and Kobo. And peace out, my wonderful viewers.